All right, we are live.
All right, we are live.
It's welcome back. It's been the summer of horrors, everybody.
It has been a summer of horrors. If you guys do not know this about Charles, Charles has gone through a lot. It's one of those things when I say I watch the news, I hear the news, and then it's like something somewhere isn't connecting, and then to find out that my buddy Charles was in that crash, and I was like, whoa! And
Yeah,
to
it's
see the picture, that was even worse.
it was a life-changing experience. I'm happy.
Life-changing experience, right?
Yeah, happy to be here and happy to still be talking to you. But like, you know what? As our good friend RJ would say, this has been a character builder.
So,
somewhere in Raleigh, he's nodding his head and be like, "Yep, yep."
so today we're gonna talk about what's the topic you want to talk about? I think it's like something along like a journey, character building. I like that. I like the word character building.
Going along the journey of an organization, but like this one, it was a very quick comment. I was asking around, some of the things that I've been observing in the coaching world, the agile coaching world specifically, in larger organizations, almost seem to be pushing back. It feels. And the comment was, hey, we've noticed a backlash to all the bad agile coaching out there in the industry. And that backlash has turned into more of a regression to wanting to do things the way that we did 15 years ago, which is get into a room and do this big planning, and everything has to be sized and determined to every detail up front. The design, the architecture, like everything has to be done up front. And I've started to think back. It's like, the comment was around bad agile coaching, and I'm like, well, is it really bad agile coaching, or what is it? What is the root cause of this? Is it the natural journey of an organization? Is it caused by bad coaching, or I don't want to say bad coaching, or just incomplete coaching or incomplete guidance? And that's just been really heavy on my head, being in multiple organizations throughout my career and just seeing where certain things are embraced and like what the trend is. I don't know if you had an impression on that.
Yeah. So here are my thoughts. Having been through this a couple of times now, looking at the trending, it is a journey. It's similar to a company that I remember back in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was in Tulsa for about 8 years, and I watched this company does what I call the ping pong. They would do in-source, outsource, in-source, outsource, clockwork every two years, in-source, outsource, in-source, outsource, and they were notorious. They'll let people go, they'll hire people, let people go. And what triggered it is new leader coming in. A new person comes in, what you guys did before was bad. This costs a lot of money. We're going to outsource this. Right. Yeah. And then next cycle comes, next leader comes in, you know what? Oh my goodness, the quality is terrible. You can't do anything. We're going to in-source this. So they went through this all the time. I don't know where they're laying.
Yeah.
Right. So there's this movement up and down. So it's almost like left and right, pulling.
Yes.
Right. It's pulling. Right. And where it's going to land, we don't know. Now, for those that are caught in the moment, right? So let's say, depending on the roller coaster. So agile transformation is similar for business. This is how I see it.
Yes.
You may have a leader that first comes in and says, you know what? Introduce agile. You guys need agile because this is and this, right? Brings a bunch of people, brings the coaches along. Coaches comes in, right? Along the way, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever that could be, it might be doing really well. And these coaches may exit. Right? The leader that brought Agile in exit.
Correct.
Go do something else. Right? When that happens, there's a void. Who fills the void? Now, usually somebody new comes in. This person has their own vision. Right? They come in, and it so happened that most of the time that I've encountered, this new person are different, and their thinking about Agile is very different. and they are going to throw it into a total different room. Either they basically say, hey, by the way, coaches, you guys don't know what you're doing. Here's what I want you to do. And here's what it is, right?
Yeah.
And lay out this new plan. So it could be we're moving towards what we hear now, the agile delivery person, the agile manager. I remember when we were working together, there was a leader that came to me and says, Richard, why don't we look at what IBM's doing? They're doing SAFe. We should do SAFe too. Right. So that's the thing, right? So to cut it really short right now, my thinking right now is there's this up and down swing, roller coaster, right? There are moments in the transformation where it's really low and it's really high. When it's low, I see coaches also exiting as well because it's really bad, right? Now there's a moment it's going to come back up again. When is the moment? I don't know. Where are we in that moment in the life cycle of things, right?
Yeah. Is there in those philosophies or the different styles? Is there an opposing forces even within the agile community where
I think
there
so.
is the people I've found that there's very people focused and very fluid with looking at agile and agility. And then there's there's another camp that wants to bring structure, and this is where I look at the delivery focus. Like there's almost like two camps within the community.
So at the end of the day, right? So at the end of the day is for me, right? For me, it's nobody care about agile. Nobody give a shit.
Yeah.
Right. What do they want? What does an organization want? To make money. That's
they want their stuff.
They want their stuff. They want their stuff. They want their money.
Yeah.
How? They don't care.
Exactly.
You go figure out how. Right.
Exactly.
I hire you to help me make more money, to make more stuff. That's it. It's the end of the day, right? So how do we connect dots? So no, there are those that connect directly to those, which is delivery.
Correct.
Right? I can connect the dots right now. There are those that says delivery is great. We will give you your 1x or 2x to get to delivery faster by showing you the agile methods, agile frameworks, agile methodologies, doing that way.
Yes.
Now there's the other part of the camp where it says, yes, but I have a multiplier for you. I can do a 3x or 4x for you. Where does that lie? It's in this soft stuff that we got. And it's this mindset that we got to hit, right?
Yes.
And that's the thing, is like, there are coaches along that way. Now, the transformation journey has its point in time, kind of like True Hurry, right?
Yes.
The leaders, the organization itself could be a mix of those, could be a hybrid. Wherever that fit, the coaches has to fit into that environment.
Agreed. And and I know this is going to sound like maybe a cop out on my part, but it sounds like you do need a blend of both. But what I've realized, and maybe this is just my observation, and I agree with you. I think that if you want to do 1x, 2x, here's the frameworks, follow them to a T. And I do feel like larger organizations fall in love with that because it gives the false structure. And I say false because it's like it's not really doing what they think it is, but it feels so comfortable to them, like, and I know what they're doing, when they're doing it, and how they're doing it. But what I have noticed is that larger organizations will struggle, or growing organizations will struggle with that concept of like, hey, there's the soft stuff here, there's the people stuff here, here's the, as a colleague of ours say, here's the HRT, the humility, respect, and trust side of things. If you build that, I could give you 3x or 4x.
Yeah.
But there is I've noticed that in a lot of leadership in large organizations, there's a very high level of discomfort with that.
Yeah.
A lot of letting go. That's like,
because they can't measure. And they can't measure, right? So they want data, they want to measure it, they want to see data, what it looks like. They can't measure. That's why we are in the mess of this story pointing measurement velocity, right? We're in this big mess, right? They do that, right? So that's the thing. Now, to blame also that I see a lot of folks that see like coaches, right? They say, there's a need there. I'm gonna go in there and do and give you what you're asking for because I'm getting paid. I'm getting paid. Yeah. Demand supply, right? Demand supply. There's such demand. There's a supply, right? Now, there are those that are basically saying, I am a coach. What does a coach do? Coach don't solve problem for you. Right? So they take the sense of the coach. And now this I at the moment is reflecting upon that.
Yeah.
What are we? Are we a coach or are we an agile coach? So I see a bunch of folks that are coaching, what I call professional coaching, who are really good at what they do.
Yes.
But they're not necessarily agile coaching. They know a little bit about agile. They know a little bit about the framework. They know a little bit about Scrum, a little bit about, SAFe, whatever you can call those things, a little bit of those things.
Yep.
But they live in this other lane. They're great at what they do, but they're not really, in my mind, this agile coach, right? So when we see folks like that, I love it. I said they're great, but then not all organizations can accept that.
Agreed. Or, I mean, you get folks, the agile coaching term, and maybe as I get deeper and deeper into this, I'm starting to get more turn into a curmudgeon. I look at it and I'm like, I get where some of these folks have had conversations, even with developers. Here's another aspect, and then maybe I'm taking this train on a different direction. I've spoken to developers or folks in the technical community that are like, oh, they've had so many bad experiences with a scrum master, with an agile coach. And it's like, well, what was the bad experience? Like, oh, we had to do things a certain way and we really didn't have this. And it was like, so now that causes, not only are we getting a backlash from organizations, but the worst scenario is you get a backlash from the organization, the leadership, and then you got developers that have come with this baggage or like, I don't want to do this agile crap anymore. Like everywhere I've been, it's just some guy or some gal yelling at me about I should do this and this and this and this. And then you've got folks that are like, that's not agility, that's da-da-da. It's like a terrible situation where as a coach who's like, I don't want to like preach framework, but I also don't want to like, hold you to points and burn downs and all that other stuff.
So for me, my journey, the success that I've got when I can get people to always say embrace agile, sadly, is those managers who are letting go. This is Richard. I don't know what I'm doing. Here's my team. Go do it. We will follow everything you need to do, right? Then it's great. So, okay, here's what we need to do. Now, there are things in my mind that I'm going to go back to Shuhari. And this is, I think there are some coaches that disagree with me, right? There are coaches that says we need to let the team feel their way around the room to figure out what they're going to bump into, to figure out how they're going to walk out from that room.
Yes.
Right. I, on the other end, says that, you know what? They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
They are going to tell you because they're developers. They say, developers, I know how to develop code, so I know more than you. But they really don't know how to communicate or they don't know how to collaborate well. Okay.
Correct.
So that's where the coaches comes in. Up front, we're more prescriptive.
Yes.
Right. So basically, you're going to follow Scrum. Pick one. You're going to follow Scrum or Kanban.
Yeah.
I would say Scrum most of the time because Kanban is a little loose on the guidelines. It's for more mature teams. We can get to Scrum to Kanban, but sometimes people jump into Kanban a lot faster. Okay. So I think those are the guidelines that we have to give. That's the reason why we have kind of coaching at the team level where we say, you're going to adopt Scrum. Now, the sad part is people are saying, what do you mean you're enforcing the team to do Scrum? You're telling them to do Scrum, right?
Yep.
But here's our recommendation. Team, I think you guys would like to do Scrum. And if you're going to do Scrum, here's how you play the game.
Yeah.
Right. Here's how you do it. Now, once you get success in one squad, one team, organization sees it. Ooh, I'm going to duplicate it. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. That's when it broke down.
Yeah.
To me, that's what it forces people. Now everybody has to follow. Now, there are reasons when we want to coordinate some of the stuff. When you have multiple, dependencies and things like that, we do want to coordinate work, right?
Yeah.
Whether the organization structure, whether your component teams or feature teams or hybrid, there are pros and cons with those things, right? So you got to figure that out. So I think that's those dynamics that's happening. So because of the perception that Agile should be free, you should be free to pick whatever you want to do. I think a part of that is also causing some tension and problem.
I agree. And let's take a look at Scrum. I see most of the backlash, and I agreed with it. Most of the backlash has been aimed targeted at Scrum.
Yeah.
And it's because Scrum, I think, is whatever. I think it's the framework most familiar with organizational leadership and by anybody. Everybody's at some point been in had contact with Scrum. I think that this is my opinion. I think that a good coach, Scrum Master approaches exactly that, like how kind of the way that you're saying is, hey, look, if we're forming a brand new team, people who've never interacted with each other, you use the Scrum framework creates the rules of engagement to figure each other out, figure out the work, figure out the domain, and like how are we going to play? Like if we don't have that, then it's just you can't just like, hey, let us code and put out stuff at the beginning. It's like, no, you have to figure out a lot at the beginning.
And what you touch on is that, right? Is that the developers have to let go and trust the coach's recommendation.
Yes, that's true.
So there's this analogy that I've used before, right? It's like Shuhari, martial art. I go learn Taekwondo. I got there's a master there teaching me how to punch.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Put your hand this way. I mean, I can't come in and say like, yeah, I don't care. I'm going to punch this way. That's it. That's my punching. No, that's not Taekwondo, people. That's not Taekwondo, okay? That's not how you do it.
Yeah.
Right? But then there's this, when I use that analogy, then it's like, but Richard, they sign up to go to that dojo. They sign up for it. They themselves sign up for it.
Yeah.
Right? So in this instance so therefore, the feedback I got is that your analogy doesn't work, Richard, because people sign up for it. So because organizations tend to come in and says, we are going to do Scrum, right? We think this is a great delivery mechanism for us. We're going to do Scrum. Everybody shall follow Scrum. And that's what the impulse is, right? That to me, that's what's happening.
I think that when it's coming from the organization, so I look at it, so if it's coming from the organization, they are looking at Scrum from I will be able to see what's being built, when it's being built, get estimates, and like they see it as they see it as new age project management, and this is how I'm going to get all my data, which is to me also the pressure that I think the teams that everybody in the middle feels like, oh shoot, now we have to do all these different things. Whereas like maybe I'm a little liberal in my approach, and I'm like, Scrum for me is like learning how to do a kata, and then after you team comes together, it's like, I don't really care how you exercise this. Now you're ready to go out in the street and go fight. Know the moves and everything.
So this is the problem with the industry we're in. Right. If you look at the Agile manifesto, right, to me, it's more of a value-based, principle-based, right? Here are a couple of things that we got to follow, right? And then you have other people that try to jump in, the PMI world.
Yeah.
If you look at PMI, Project Management Institute, they define Scrum as a project management methodology, project management tool. This mindset of a project is still in place.
Yes.
And I see that in resumes.
Yeah.
I'm a coach. I do Agile Scrum, as an Agile project. So when I see that, I question that, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that I struggle with sometimes. And I say now, so it becomes so much chaos that nobody knows what's going on. So for the managers that I don't know, who do they follow? So whatever they line up to, that their past experience, that's what they're closest to. Even though if it's, I would say, different than ours. I almost said bad Agile, but it's different than ours.
It's different, yeah.
It's different. So therefore, they come in, right? They are a leader, new leader coming in. They have something to show. I've seen it successful before. I'm going to do it my way.
Correct.
right?
Yep.
Even though if the organization is in a much better shape, they don't know it. It's new to them,
Yes.
right? Therefore, we're gonna go do this. Now, this brings me back to what we call Chesterton's fence, the fallacy of the fence.
Mm.
One of the things that we do is as coaches, well, when we come in, we observe. We don't come in and say, we're gonna change the way you do this, we're gonna change the way you do that. We don't do that, right? So we say, why is that fence there? Does everybody know why is the fence there?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So we ask questions before we move. So we still have folks that comes in, and because they are in this, I would say, in the position to influence, and they're trying to get, I would say, results.
Well, they have the pressure.
They
The
have the
pressure is,
pressure, right?
I'm paying you a lot of money. You're coming into this organization, and I need to see the results, and I need to
Yeah.
see them fast.
Yeah. Coaches too, right? We too.
Exactly. Yep.
We go in a new place. People say, "What are you doing?" Right? I've been asked, "What are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's how we do this. Here we go in, we do observation. Yeah. No, I have this problem. I want you to fix this problem. You have enough time observing. I need you to do now.
I love that statement. I want you to fix this problem.
I want to fix this problem, right? And that's the thing. So if you're a contractor, what do we do? Cool. I don't have a lot of time. I come in and I go. Which means I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna fix, and I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
I don't have time to go fix your squad, your team, to get into the right mindset. I'm just coming in, getting what I need, and I'm going. Because guess what? Once I leave it a little bit better.
A little
and
bit.
That's good enough.
I think that you just hit on a scenario where I think if you get a really good contractor, a really good coach that comes in, an external coach that can do all of that in a short span, great experience. But what I think is happening is that you get folks who come in, there's a lot of pressure to make things happen, and you can't rush this process. You can't rush this at all. It's going to be half-assed, no, in one way or shape or form. And what happens is that the thing that companies really want most is come here and install. I'm going to use Scrum. Come here and this is the thing that it makes my skin crawl. Install Scrum.
Yep.
And it's like, that is the length of time that you have. You don't really get to go into like the dynamics. How is your pipeline? What do your pipelines look like? Like the things that actually impact delivery is like, no, if you install Scrum or install Safe, we're going to be fine. And then we'll take it from here because we know what we're doing. Like,
Yeah. So the journey. So let's talk about that journey, right? Like installing Scrum, right? Let's talk about installing Scrum. So for an organization, the Agile journey is much longer, right? So the discovery of these things much longer. So for a team, when I coach team, right? I come in, do some assessment really quickly, and say, let's go try Scrum.
Yeah.
We do Scrum a little bit, right? And here's my approach, right? I know we have upstream problem. I know we're not organized properly. I know our story isn't great. Our epics suck. I know that, right? But the first thing I do is basically, this is just me, and I'm still learning my craft, right? First thing I do is, can you eat the food? In other words, can I take input and produce output? Can I do it consistently? Now, even though my output suck, but can I do input output?
Yep.
Right. So Scrum gives me that mechanism. So for organization that can't do any of those things, they want that mechanism.
Yeah.
Now they cannot reorg, right? They can't hit upstream yet, but they can get that. Now, if they can get that going, to me, that's step one.
Correct.
Now, most folks don't recognize it. So to me, that's the journey of an organization is similar. There are multiple teams going, they're not operating in the right way. They want to install Scrum because they want to be able to operate in a certain manner first. Now, once they hit that, it's like, we did Scrum, but it didn't give us the way we want. They're like, are you guys communicating properly? Are you guys delivering value? Oh, you mean your work isn't valuable? Well, who's making this call? Yeah. Maybe we need to get better at those, right?
As a coach, I look at it from an org. If I'm not somebody who's in software, and I look at it as like, it's gonna put in something that's gonna give me an input output, and I can see where it is. But as a coach, I see Scrum, the value in Scrum is that it starts to bubble up all these things that you were
Yeah,
saying there.
yeah,
You will start to see like, okay, the communication is not good. We don't even know how to like define the user's journey. Like,
yes,
how the hell are we supposed to build anything if we can't
yeah,
do that? But like, I feel like something like Scrum, when it's not, thrown at a team or an organization like the Bible, and you look at it like, hey, look, we're going to put this in place. This is going to bubble these things up, and then we can start to pivot and figure things out from there. But in the absence of it, it is just chaos, and it is what you're feeling.
yeah,
But I think that the org doesn't, leaders don't see that. Traditional leaders don't see that. They see it as like, oh, this is going to give me control
yeah,
of this node, as opposed to what a coach sees, which a coach sees it as, this is going to expose the things that we need to address. And the journey, that's that, the control is like, that's not the way to look at it. And there's just a struggle.
yeah. And unfortunately, so at the end of the day, I think it lies down to the leader,
Yeah,
right?
agreed.
Right, the CEO, the CTO, whoever that person is, right? And what I've experienced is anytime there's a change, right, in the captain at that level, things
Mm-hmm.
change,
Oh yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have enough, I would say, agile-minded leaders in place.
I agree. And I'm making a distinction, or trying to make a distinction these days, because I do see, and we've heard, I think Bob Galen has said it,
Yeah,
little a, big A, agile. We've said it
yeah,
before here. Um, is to, hey, let's take the big A out of this. It's
yeah,
not what it's meant to be. Like, this has become an industry in and of itself, and I think it's fogging the goodness that comes from those values and principles that were originally put together. Um, I mean, the first sentence, I've said this a dozen times on this cast, is that we're finding better ways. Better ways
yeah,
doesn't mean Scrum. It doesn't mean Kanban. It doesn't mean safe. So when somebody comes in and sells me like, oh, you should do safe, safe's going to solve all your problems, it's like, there's the door. Please, good God, because I know I have experience in this. But like, if I don't know, and if I'm I don't know, a COO, I'm like, oh my God, that sounds great. That sounds like Six Sigma. That sounds like this. Like, absolutely, let's
right.
install it
And
and let's.
that right there, you just hit it, right? Is that sound like,
Yes.
because it's familiar to me. My
Yes.
background is familiar. I'm project manager, so it's familiar for me. So that's the reason why people adopt safe, mostly because it feels similar.
Yes.
Right
It's.
now, safe has its place,
Mhm.
right? Safe has its place. I think there are organizations that can do well with safe. I think safe is a good starting point for some
Mhm.
organization. I mean, so I think you're right. But I mean, I struggle with it still today. As a coach now, I struggle with it. There are days when I say, "Screw this." I'm gonna go find me a job as a director of software development, or direct somewhere as management position somewhere, where I can tell people, if you don't like what I do, you're fired.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So much easier.
So much easier, right? It's like, talk about feelings and things. Oh my goodness,
No, I
people.
don't have time for that. I need to
I don't
get
have time
stuff
for that.
done.
That's right, get stuff done. But there's those days, and then there are days when I realize that what we're doing is we're unlocking tremendous things for the folks that are in it.
Yes.
Right, and that.
And those are the folks. Here's the thing: if you're a developer and you're watching this, and I think that um our hearts are with the people that are building the software. I've been there and I've done that. And I think that we've talked about the coaches and the leaders and the managers and all that stuff. And what we forget is that the folks who are caught in this
Yeah,
tug of war game are developers. So when I hear developers say, F it, I'm done with this agile crap, I get it. You've probably been torn left and right. You're like, I'm so over this. But I really want to just emphasize, like, at the end of the day, whether you're an organizational leader, an agile coach, is like, really, you got to think about the people who are building the software, because I'm not building it. You're not building it. You up in the big office aren't building it. So it's like, and I know this is going to sound super simple, But I list, talking to developers in the last couple of weeks is like, let's use the tools that we have or the frameworks that we have for the value principles. So like, let's use Scrum to be empirical and expose some of the deficiencies. Don't use it to control and manage and all those other things. If you try to do that, you're going to make your developers miserable, and you're going to make everybody in the middle miserable, and you're going to make your coaches miserable too, or your Scrum masters.
Well, I mean, it's just, just in the end of the day, I mean, you got developers leaving, things like that, right? So it's
Yeah.
so that's not a good thing. Yeah, coaches are caught in between. I think some managers are as well.
I agree.
Caught in between. So it's how do we educate? I think us as coaches have a responsibility. Enough with the squabble. I think there are a lot of squabbling going on right now.
I agree.
Today out in the Agile community, we have those that are, I would say, very and there are those that are very shu.
Yes.
We're all in a different journey, and I see that we have to recognize that our environment is very different.
Yeah.
Right. I've got folks that I see, I'm going to call, say, the European kind of countries where they are very pro-agile, very pro-human, and they can do things. And when they look at us in the US, or in the US, you guys suck. Right? And I don't understand why you guys doing this. This is the world we live in.
Yeah.
It's similar as how I look at it, and I'm amazed, right? Agile is thriving in India. Agile is thriving in China, right? I used to think that that's not going to happen. That's hard. Yeah, but it is thriving. It is thriving in those two countries, right? I've met awesome coaches from those two countries already. But I was like, oh my goodness, it does work. It can work. But what does it require, right? So I think that's one for coaches, is that we have the responsibility to say, recognize it. Simple thing like the Chesterton's fans. Please don't jump in and just make the changes. Contractors, I know fellow coaches that basically says, I do contracting. Each of them has a expiry time. It's either 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years, and I'm gone.
Yeah.
Right. And what do you try to do? Leave the place a little bit better. That's their goal. That's their motto, right? They get paid for that, and that's good and great. Calling out the leaders too. It is on the leaders. You have the biggest impact. Whatever you say or do will affect everybody else down the line. Yeah. And you can tear it apart. You can bring it. Any one of us has a leadership position, basically.
And I'm going to make a broad statement here. I feel, and I've been in this position before where I've been asked to come in and fix things. It's easier to come in, criticize, tear down, and then just build it the way that I want to, than it is to exactly what you're saying, which is come in, observe, and say, wow, this works here. This is different than any other place. This works here. I'm going to keep this, but this is where I can help and move on. Or help these teams move along, help this organization move along. But I think that it is easier for the human mind or for leaders today to just say, that's dumb. I was super successful here. We're going to do it this way. You tear it down, then you build it up, and then you're gone in 3 or 4 years. And like you were saying, we're going to go full circle this conversation. Then 3 or 4 years down the road, new person comes in, does the exact same thing. And guess what? The digital or the transformation or whatever you're trying to accomplish is caught in this vicious death loop.
Yeah. and so if we recognize that, if the coaches, we who are caught in it, recognize it, it makes it easier for us to sleep at night, because we understand that we're caught in it. There are moments that we're high, there are moments that we're low, and that could be a span of 3 to 4 years. Yeah, good. And then we're going to hit that low, right? And when we hit the low, what do we do as a coach? We got to recognize that. One of the realization I have, because I get excited in this agile journey, in this peak of movement. I get to the peak. I think it's the peak. It's awesome. As soon as I see that drop, I'm out. Right? I get mad. I get upset. Right? I get mad, upset. It's like, I do not understand it. Why do you not understand it? Why is it that you don't know this? And I'll call you out on it. And that's probably the wrong thing. And I'm getting better at it, where recognize it. Not everyone understands Agile. Don't everyone have the right Agile mindset. It requires us to coach. That's why we have a job, right?
Yeah.
Again, it is one of those tough things to be in. I question myself: should I be a coach? Should I leave? I don't know. But I think that recognition, for me, at least for me, helps me sleep at night.
Yeah, I agree. And like I look at, I don't know, I look at and this is me personally, I'm doing a lot of reflecting on, my years as Scrum Master, my years as an Agile coach. And you said something earlier that I think coaching in general, professional coaching and whatnot, I think that there's a lot of value that in an organization. I think that any coach that has Agile in front has this, I don't know, it's got such a negative connotation that almost either people accept it or immediately fight against it. And that's another aspect. And it's part of the journey. It's part of our own individual journeys. And I think it's part of the organizational journey. So I don't know if we answered any things or gave any, I think we gave some suggestions for folks out there. We vented a little bit.
We vented a little bit. But this is what you expect from an Agile talk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We weave, we go left or right.
But that's it. Yeah, it's very dynamic, and that's the way that things are. It's just dynamic, and I'm hoping that if you're a coach or a manager or anybody who listens to tunes in, and if you resonate with this, would love to hear. Drop a comment. If you disagree, I'd love to have the comment on there. I'd like to have this dialogue, because this is our opinion and our experiences. I'm sure there's thousands, millions of other experiences out there that can help us figure this out. If we don't talk about things like this or go back and forth about it, the death loop is just going to continue, and developers are going to get fed up.
Absolutely. So I mean, maybe it's time also to preach. If you don't know what the coach does, one way is to talk to a coach and ask. The other way is pick up the book from Bob Galen, Badass Agile coaching thing, right? Pitch that out there. I think if you are watching this and you're still with us till right now, one of the collection that we have for you is CLS. CLS. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe.
Subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe.
Yeah, what do you want to do, right? CLS.
Richard, my dude, again, we said this back in May. We were going to do this more often. Then literally all hell broke loose. My commitment now, there's time. I'm hoping life chills out. We should be doing this more often. Now, I think that we wanted to do a series with some guest speakers. We may have some guest speakers coming up in the next few months. So, Richard, as always, you are the captain of the ship. I'm the crazy guy who stows away. And I appreciate you having me here.
Wait a minute. This is our channel, you and I. Whoa. This is you and I. It's not my channel. It's you and I. So no.
I stow away. But I appreciate it, man, and I look forward to continuing to do this.